Okay, today we're reading The Art of Distraction, October 27th, 1917. So this is one of the earlier memories from 1917 that they've now reflected back to. If you'll remember, the cliffhanger at the end of page 88 was the mine whistle was the sound that brought us together and kept us apart at the same time. And Miss Sadie was starting to go back into one of her memories. So here it is. The shrill whistle of the Devlin coal mine signaled the end of one shift and the beginning of another. Jinx gripped the handlebars of a dilapidated bicycle and shuddered in the mid-morning breeze as he waited for Ned to emerge from the mine shaft. 3 weeks had passed since Jinx had jumped the train near Manifest, but for him, it seemed a lifetime. He had come to a community where strangers arrived every day from places farther away than the next state over. He knew he might be fooling himself into thinking that he could stay, that he could leave his past behind. But he'd met Ned and was living with Shady. He was going to school, leading a normal life, and for now, he felt safe. If you remember, when he first jumped the train, he said he and his uncle were running from the law. The shaft elevator strained and heaved its way slowly out of the ground. A tall wooden shack housed the cage elevator, which carried miners 100 or 200 feet underground, where they would disperse into various dugouts called rooms, each supported by a single wooden pillar. Here the miners worked their 8-hour shifts, picking out the coal, loading it into a cart, and hauling it back out. That day, as the rickety cage elevator surfaced, a group of soot-covered faces emerged, only to be replaced by a waiting group of men ready to go below. As one looked at them, all carrying their metal lunchboxes and wearing their denim overalls and miners' helmets with gas lamps attached, it was difficult to distinguish one man from the next, one group from another. However, when they spoke, it became clear the Italians were ending their shift and the Austrians were beginning. That was the way Devlin preferred it. Keep each to his own kind, speaking his own language, and everyone would stay in his place. The men coming out of the ground, squinting against the daylight, were like dead men rising out of a grave. Go ahead and underline that. The men coming out of the ground, squinting against the daylight, were like dead men rising out of a grave. That's a simile. They walked in somber formation to the water pump to wash. That day was unusual in that Mr. Devlin himself stood near the mine elevator. Jinx hadn't seen him since the night of the Klan rally and felt himself draw back a bit at the sight of the grand night. Of course, now there was no white hood or cloak. Mr. Devlin was dressed in a large pinstripe suit and an immaculate celluloid collar. His slicked back hair glistened in the sun as he appeared to be having a heated discussion with the mine geologist. Jinx was relieved when Ned finally emerged from the elevator cage with the Italian crew. He walked his bike over to join Ned in line at the water pump. Ned removed his miner's hat, revealing his sweaty hair and white forehead against his otherwise soot-blackened face. He eyed the two men arguing. What are they going on about? Something about the direction of the vein, Jinx answered. Seems the coal vein took a turn it shouldn't have, and now it's going the wrong way. I think the geologist is about to get the boot. So the geologist was in charge of telling the mine bosses which direction the coal vein was going to go. So they would literally go underground and chip out pieces of coal that was in what's called a vein in the rock. And so like it would be like when I think you did cookie mining with Mrs. Gamble in science class, and she had you chip out the chocolate chips out of the cookie. And that's basically the idea is you've got this coal, this product that's been in the ground for years and years, and you're chipping it out, and they have to know which direction it's going to go because they dig and dig and dig new rooms rooms is kind of generous. It wasn't a large space, but new rooms based on the direction. So if the geologist who specializes in the study of rocks gets this wrong and it's going the wrong direction, and you've dug out a room going this way and you should have dug a room going this way, you've wasted a lot of time, money, and resources. I think the geologist is about to get the boot fired. Oh, well, Ned said, let him argue. Where'd you get that contraption? He asked, motioning toward the bicycle. Shady won it in last night's poker game. Want to take it for a spin? Can't. Ned pumped fresh water and washed his face and hands. My legs are aching to be stretched after being cooped up for 8 hours. I might just run from here to Erie and back. Several other mine workers stood around waiting for their weekly pay. Benedetto, you work too much, Mr. Borelli said, using his Italian nickname for Ned. Study, learn, you go to college. Yes, sir, I hope to go on a track scholarship next year. Good, good, he patted Ned on the back. You run hard and study harder. Then you'll not have to go work underground to feed your family. Man was not meant to spend his days in the dark. Hey, Vincenzi? Mr. Vincenzi wiped his face with a handkerchief. Si, un inferno, Augie, he answered. Si, it is a hot one today. Mr. Borelli answered. He patted Mr. Vincenzi along, then whispered to Ned and Jinx. He speaks no English. These mines, they keep us in the dark in more ways than one. Just then, Lester Burton, the pit boss, stepped among them and nailed a notice to the post near the water pump. The letters were big and bold enough to be read from several feet away. You're up.
By way of public notice, the American Defense Society warning: every German or Austrian in the United States, unless known by years of association to be absolutely loyal, should be treated as a potential spy. Be on the alert. Keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something, say something. Take nothing for granted. Energy and alertness may save the life of your son, your husband, your brother, even yourselves. The enemy is engaged in making war in this country, transmitting news to Berlin, and spreading propaganda and lies about the condition and morale of American military forces. Whenever any suspicious act or disloyal word comes to your notice, communicate at once with Fred Robertson, United States District Attorney, Kansas City, Kansas, or the American Defense Society, 44 East 23rd Street, New York City, New York.
Burton turned his sun-splotched face to the men. In wartime, that spy could be your neighbor, the chump sitting next to you at the pool hall or even at church. He looked straight at Ned. Could be anyone of unknown or questionable background. Be alert and trust no one. Got it? Wow, what a rude, horrible thing to say right in front of all the Austrians who were getting ready to go into the mine.
You have to keep an eye on them.
There was a stir among the crowd, mostly men asking for a translation from the few who could speak English. Good, Burton van de stacks of envelopes. Borelli, he called out.
Borelli!
Servietto.
Servietto!
Vincenzi.
Vincenzi.
One by one, the men took their pay and drifted away like shadows. Gillen. Ned stepped forward to receive the last envelope. Burton held out the envelope only to pull it back as Ned reached for it. So, you plan to go to college, eh? That's right. Looks like studying's gonna be a tight squeeze working double shifts. Sir? That's right, there's been a bit of a mix-up and we need to dig out a new room and Weintraub's out with a broken leg. you'll go in for him. But I just worked a full shift. Remember, he'd already come up out of the ground. Strong kid like you shouldn't be a problem. I suppose we could call in your old man. I recall seeing an unpaid balance on the Hadley Gillen account from the Devlin Mercantile. He might want some extra work in case a payment in full notice comes due. Think about it. So, you had to buy stuff at the Devlin Mercantile, owned by the same lovely gentleman that owns the mine,
Mr. Devlin.
Mr. Devlin. And you were able to charge things. Now, this was not a credit card situation. This was you go in, you tell them what you want, they write your name down. Even in the small town I grew up in, there was a clothing store that would do this. And I would go in and I would buy clothing and they would write my name down and they would write how much the clothes cost, and then I would make payments on my account. So basically he's blackmailing this kid, saying, well, if you're not willing to work double shifts, we'll just have your old man come do it. Because, oh, wouldn't it be terrible if suddenly we said he needed to pay in full rather than paying out his balance? Burton handed Ned his pay envelope and walked off. That's not fair, Jinx said. There's a lot of folks who could fill in for Weintraub. Why does he want you so bad? Well, I've beaten Devlin's son too many times at track meets. So what? His son has everything else going for him. Money, privilege, family name. Yeah, and that kind of person doesn't like to get beat by a person of questionable background. Ned's voice shook with emotion. Forget about them, Jinx said. Let's go down to the fairgrounds later on. I hear there's a fella selling all kinds of fireworks.
Fireworks.
Selling, Ned said, opening his envelope. As in money, of which you have none? He stared at the contents in disgust, and I guess neither do I. They work us like pack mules for 78 cents a ton of coal, and then pay us in vouchers to buy stuff at the company store, not in real money. It's no wonder we can't get out from under their thumb. He crumpled up the envelope. So unless they're selling fireworks at the Devlin Mercantile, we're out of luck. I didn't say we were gonna buy any, we're just gonna go look. Once we see what goes in one, we can make our own. We have fellas all over Crawford County. We'll have fellas all over Crawford County buying our fireworks. Not in the mood. Come on, where's your spirit of adventure? Ned slowly buckled his belt and picked around his waist. It's buried 150 feet underground in the mine. Maybe I'll start working triple shifts. Then I can buy a piece of that coal vein and somebody might have a little leverage against Devlin. Suit yourself, but I did see Pearl Ann Larkin trying on a fetching hat at the millinery today. Big pink thing with feathers. She waved at me through the windows. Ned shrugged, opening the lower chamber of his miner's lamp and dropping in a small handful of little white cubes. He turned the knob to the chamber above, allowing a few drops of water to hit the cubes, creating a gas that rose to the top. Ned flicked the flint, sparking a flame. Donning the hat, he said with a smirk, "Big pink thing with feathers, huh? If it doesn't come with a carbide gaslight, I'm not interested." So these were not flashlights they were wearing on their head. These were actual flame lights. Doesn't sound very safe.
Mm-mm.
She said something about looking forward to sharing some popcorn with you tonight at the carnival and taking a ride on the carousel, but I guess that doesn't interest you either. Ned adjusted the flame and shined it in Jinx's squinting eyes. She said that? Sure as I'm standing here and I happen to know you've got 40 cents at home. Ned sighed. This shift doesn't end till 6 o'clock. Jinx smiled, knowing he'd won. I'll meet you at the firework booth at 6:30. Ned studied Jinx under the light of his helmet lamp. What are you cooking up, Jinx? Last time you were this interested in my courting Pearl Ann, I ended up smelling like a glacial skunk. Jinx straddled his bike, By the time you're done working 2 shifts, you'll smell plenty without any help from me. So be sure to wash up, he called as he pedaled off. The autumn night was cool. Henson's field was just outside of town, was aglow with hanging lanterns strung from one booth to the next. The county fair was a welcome time for all. Farmers had finished harvesting their soybeans, milo, and alfalfa, and had planted their winter wheat. The kids had a break from school. Folks from neighboring towns stopped in to sample the variety of foods. The Italians baked everything from cannelloni to ziti. The Swedes served up braided bread and hard-baked pretzels, while the Germans and Austrians touted their strudels and, I don't know how to say this, Bierochs, B-I-E-R-O-C-H-S. I've never known
Where is it?
how to pronounce that. Bieroch or
You got me.
Bierochs.
Don't know.
Something Mr. Laslier does not know. Write that down.
Yeah, underline that
Hardly
word.
happens.
Underline that word.
Jinx spotted Ned and handed him a calzone. Compliments of Mama Santoni. She heard you had to work 2 shifts. Grazie, Ned called to the large
Grazie.
woman, his mouth already full of bread and cheese. Eat, she instructed, her arms deep in dough. Come back. I have biscuits baking. I keep them warm for you, yes?
Mange.
We'll be back, Jinx said, leading Ned away by the elbow. A few booths over, a placard read, Jasper Hinckley, Pyrotectic. The exuberant Mr. Hinckley worked a crowd of young boys who apparently had plenty of money to spend. There you go, lads, and remember, be careful with fire. Once you start it, fireworks. Ba-dum-bump. Get it?
Got it.
The boys ran off, leaving Mr. Hinckley to laugh alone. He smoothed the handlebar mustache covering his upper lip. Just a little pyrotectic humor, gentlemen. What can I do for you today? See, here you got your Shanghai Sizzlers, your Sparkling Marys, your Chinese color changers. Jinx picked up a red cylinder behind the rest. What's this one? Easy there, son. Mr. Hinckley took it from Jinx and gently replaced it with several matching red cylinders. That little fella's not for sale. He's a Manchurian fire thrower. They're ones that shoot upwards of 300 feet in the air and explode in 2 different colors. Jinx hooked his thumbs in his pockets. What do you take us for, mister? A couple of them schoolboys? You expect us to believe these here cans shoot up in the air and explode in color? Mr. Hinckley looked bewildered. Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Haven't you ever seen fireworks, boy? Jinx stuck out his bottom lip and spoke with a fiend country bumpkin accent. Well, mister, we may look stupid, but that's as far as it goes. I bet there's nothing more than beans in them cans. Mr. Hinckley took a medium-sized canister and cranked off the lid. You see that there powder? That's pure TNT. Mix that with a little potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal, and you got the beginnings of a first-class shell. Jinx looked sideways at Ned. Sounds like quite a recipe, but even if you can get it off the ground, and I'm not saying I believe you can, how are you going to get it to explode in the air? Now that's a trick. Mr. Hinckley gently reached into the canister and exposed a thin fuse. Do you see how the boys are getting him to tell exactly how to make one of these? By questioning him. This little fella, he starts to burning when the shell goes up. Then he's all used up. Kapow! You got yourself a mighty fine pyrotechnic display. That's fireworks in layman's terms. He put the lid back on the canister. Of course, you got to be a bona fide pyrotechnic to handle these little darlings. I apprenticed with a full-fledged Chinaman up in Omaha. Jinx nodded and crossed his arms. Well, you do seem to know your trade. Fine. Now, which one of these quality specimens would you be interested in? Keeping in mind, I don't sell the Manchurian fire throwers. Those are only for official pyrotechnic displays. Jinx looked over his shoulder. Uh-oh, isn't that Mama Santoni calling, Ned? Ned took his cue. Yeah, she's keeping those biscuits warm for us in the oven. Sorry, Mr. Hinckley, if we don't hurry up, those biscuits are going to turn into firecrackers. Get it? Firecrackers, burned biscuits. Just a little humor from one pyrotechnic to another. Jinx called as he and Ned walked off. Mr. Hinckley smoothed his mustache as a new group of boys crowded around the stand. Jinx and Ned wandered past the next few booths, carnival games, where vendors tried to attract the attention of passersby. Step right up, toss 3 balls in the hole and win a prize, or try your luck in the shell game, win a Liberty Head silver dollar. So much for your big con, Jinx, Ned teased. A con is merely the art of distraction. Jinx studied the booths. Come here. Jinx grabbed Ned by the elbow and led him to the stall game. A man in a striped shirt and bow tie smiled a crocodile smile. A tiny monkey perched on his shoulder. Have you heard this story, Mr. Lasalier?
No, I'm afraid I have not.
I know you were listening about the fireworks because you love fireworks.
I love fireworks. In fact, I heard some fireworks just a few moments ago. Black cats, about 200 of them.
Really?
Yes. You were busy doing your math lesson. That's why the dog was barking. No.
He hears fireworks in his sleep.
Yes.
Ready to try your luck and win yourself this here Liberty Head silver dollar? It's an easy game. I'm practically giving away money today. Right, Nikki?
Practically.
The monkey twittered his agreement. Ned shook his head. I'm not wasting money. No thanks. Come on, Jinx said. It only takes a dime and you can win $1. Then you can buy Pearl Ann a bag of popcorn and a lemonade with change to spare. Ned grimaced and placed a dime on the counter. I need to plug in my laptop. Can you grab my charger? The man lined up 3 walnut shells and placed a pumpkin seed under one. He shuffled them around. Ned kept his eyes on the shell with the seed, and when the man stopped, Ned tapped it. The man uncovered the seed. You've got a good eye. So this was like the precursor to those games. If you go to like a football game or you go to a baseball game and they do like, they put a ball under a helmet on the screen and then they make the helmets move around and then you guess which one it's under. Okay, so this was an original
Shell game.
shell game. And it was called a shell game because they literally used like nutshells to hide this in. Okay. Do I need to move or? Oh, I'm gonna have enough. So this is one of the oldest cons in the book. Ned was jubilant. So hand over my Liberty Head silver dollar. Well, you don't get it on the first try. It takes 3 chances and each chance costs a dime. So now he tells him,
in for 30 cents.
you got to play 3 games. Well, that's 30 cents. Go ahead, give him another dime. You're good at it, Jinx coaxed. Oh, all right, Ned grumbled, reaching for another coin. Again, the man revealed which shell held the seed and shuffled them back and forth. Again, Ned tapped the correct shell. Woohoo, Ned shouted. This time, he didn't need any coaxing. Pleased with his success, he already had his 3rd dime on the table and waited for one last game to claim his silver dollar. Again, the man shuffled, and Ned watched as the shell with the seed went left, then right, then around, and ended in the middle. The monkey hopped onto Ned's shoulder and twittered with excitement. Hey, little fella, you know a winner when you see one, don't you?
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Ned reached to tap the middle shell, but Jinx stopped his hand. Not that one, this one. Jinx moved his hand to the shell on the right. But I was watching. It's not this one, Jinx said firmly. Now, don't you let him sway you, son. You're a natural at this game, the man said without his usual smile. There was something so definite in Jinx's voice that Ned uncovered the shell on the right. There was the pumpkin seed. The monkey jumped from Ned's shoulder, snatched up the seed, and popped it into his mouth. Now look here, growled the shell man. This is not a 2-player game. If you want to play,
here we go.
If you want to play, put up your own dime. The monkey chattered more and more loudly in agitation. So basically, the monkey jumps on your shoulder to distract you so that you lose track of which shell has the seed. Well, Jinx knew this was coming, so he kept his eyes on the shell, and when Ned was about to pick the wrong one, he said, no, pick this one, this is where it's at. And so the guy's mad because he's like, this isn't a 2-player game. If you want to play, you need to put your own dime out. Just then, Judge Carlson approached the booth. patting Ned on the back. Keeping those legs warmed up, son? Yes, sir, Ned replied. I'll have my work cut out for me staying ahead of Heck and Holler, he said, referring to the judge's sons, who were also star runners on the Manifest track team. That's right, Judge, Jinx said, emphasizing the word judge. He might even get a new pair of shoes with the $1 he just won. That is, if this gentleman will give Ned his rightful winnings. Judge Carlson looked at the shell man. Is there a problem here? The man grimaced. No. He pulled the silver dollar from his pocket and shoved it across the counter. Judge Carlson picked it up. May I? He asked Ned. He held up the coin, studying the woman's profile with her wavy hair and crown. Lady Liberty, she's a beauty. He flipped it into the air to Ned. Don't spend her all in one place. The judge moved on, and Ned and Jinx walked away from the scowling man and his monkey. I never took my eyes off that shell. I knew it was in the middle, Ned said. Just like I told you, the art of distraction. You took your eye off the shells when the monkey jumped on your shoulder. Nicky did his part, and the shell guy switched the shells. You mean that monkey's trained to do that? Sure, most people aren't willing to make a 30-cent bet, so they let you win a couple easy rounds to get you to put down a couple more dimes, then Nicky makes his move, and you lose. The art of distraction, Ned mused. Yep, all kinds of things can be accomplished when someone's looking the wrong way. From behind his back, Jinx revealed the large red canister from Jasper Hinckley's firework booth. So he took it with the art of distraction. Ned's eyes got big. Nice trick, but you can't just steal his Manchurian fire thrower. It's not stealing, it's like the library. You check out a book, look at what's inside, and take it back. We'll use this canister as our model. We make our own and return this one. Then what? Then we set up shop and sell them to every kid around. Ned caught sight of Pearl Ann standing in a pretty pink dress. He headed for the popcorn wagon. Count me out. Jinx caught sight of Sheriff Dean near the popcorn wagon, and as he always did when he saw the sheriff, or any sheriff for that matter, he turned the other way. This time he ducked into the diviner's tent. Who do you think the diviner is? Do you think the... Oh, hello?
Hello. It's the diviner. We will hear from the diviner later.
Who's now German.
I thought she was Hungarian.
That's true. That's true. I am curious about the judge's children who are named Heck and Holler. So next time you think you don't like the name your parents chose for you, it could be worse.
Hey, Heck. Is his last name Tate?
No?
He went on to become the sheriff of Macomb County in Alabama
True.
in the 1930s.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
There
That's
you
right.
go, Heck Tate.
Heck and Holler. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.